Know you should integrate more balance training with your clients, but don't want them to die of boredom in the process. In this video, I'm gonna give you my top 2 tips to make sure they're getting more of what they need while also getting what they want. Most new trainers don't integrate balance training into their programs because in their minds, they think it might be a little bit boring, it might be a little bit too slow, and if it's done wrong, you're 100% right. And we don't want that to happen to you guys. So the first thing, my first pro tip for you is to initially with clients, integrate it, right? Integrate it. And what I mean by that is integrate your balance training in with other things. And the best place really to start is I'm gonna throw Coach Louise, right? My lovely model in our video, who actually was in our original balance training video as well. So if you haven't watched that, make sure you check the link below in our description for that. But she's gonna drop down just into a lunge position. And I say this first because keep in mind, as we're thinking balance training progressions, too many coaches feel like I have to jump right into this full single leg. And that might be too much for people initially anyways, but guess what? If we just go right to playing with base of support, which you can do a lot inside the lunge position, then you're gonna start to get some of that benefit. And she's gonna already be distracted by the fact that I know with her panda pants on, those quads and glutes are screaming, but what we're doing is we're building strength in the areas, even in the foot and the ankle complex, that's gonna be necessary for more balance training down the road. You can stand up for a second. So to take that to the next level as well, she's got her shoes on right now, her comfy balance shoes, but you mind taking those off for me? Unless she's got like 12 toes we don't know about, but we're about to find out here. And what I'm gonna have Coach Louise do is I'm gonna have her, the same idea, right? We're talking about integrating balance training into what we're doing. More so your clients still feel like they're already working harder. These are the things that still might be somewhere in your prep and prime, right? Your warm-up phase of your training, but are gonna give them a little bit of what you're looking for, which is improving balance and stability, while them feeling like, holy cow, all these other things are working. And I really like, mostly because this area is commonly undertrained, that same lunge position that Coach Louise was down in, but now we're doing bent knee calf raises, all right? It looks a little silly, but I promise you she's gonna be crying very quickly here because this really targets the soleus especially, and especially when we get up on the ball of that foot, although she's a dancer, so she's probably gonna make it look easier. That soleus is really responsible for that slow twitch, right? That postural control. So drop down into our lunge for me. I love it. She had no idea this was coming, by the way. This is totally unscripted, which is the best. So we'll see if she can do it. All you're gonna do, just try to lift that heel off the ground. Oh yeah, look at that. All of a sudden, we see some shakes happening. All right, so again, you gotta progress clients slowly. This could be something you would do with an additional dowel for somebody, but I'm not giving her that benefit. And this starts to build strength in the foot. Very, very weak area for so many people, right? Guys, I'm giving you a lot of juice in this video right now. You thought you were just getting some distraction tactics. This is real building strength in the foot that's gonna translate over to their balance. And again, for most of our clients, they're like, holy cow, these are muscles I don't know if I've ever even worked before. So they're getting the training that they want while we're still getting some of the balance that we need. All right, cool, come up here for a second. And we can start to take that to the next level as well. I'm gonna allow her to do the opposite leg, just so we can get a little bit of a breather there. But again, integrating other things. So let's say now we're getting more comfortable, stability, still staying in more of like a split stance here. And now I'm just gonna have her start to work some other areas of the body that we usually need some help with. Things like our rear delts, right, retraction. So she's gonna drop back into that static lunge and just go through some band pull aparts, all right? So again, still 2 legs on the ground. So variations a lot of clients can still handle, but we're getting a lot of bang for our buck. And that's one thing I want you guys to think about. I don't want you to add distraction to exercises just to make it like a circus act. You can notice at this stage, we have not changed surfaces at all, because I think that's a big jump for a lot of people. I want to build a lot of staggered stance and split stance strength for my clients before I jump into further progressions. And guess what? Now we're also getting a little 2-for-1 with our rear shoulders and the bands. And keep in mind with some of these examples we're going through, a little bit goes a long way, right? It's taken clients years and years to develop the lack of balance that they have. You're not gonna resolve it all in one setting. And you're also more likely to maybe bore clients by doing 3, 4, 5, 6 balance exercises in a row versus even taking some of the moves that we just did and integrating them into somewhat of a warm-up circuit. Most clients don't even know that they're training balance, but we know we're getting some good focus work in. Pro tip number 2 for you guys is to take advantage of and integrate different tools. And what I mean is like actual different pieces of equipment that you might be using on a regular basis. Partially because it actually can help you when it comes to progression going into true single leg balance stuff, but also that alone, like just using different things in a given day, even if you're focused on the exact same movement, can feel different for clients every time. And again, if you're just integrating in 1 or 2 movements, it should be pretty easy to use a variety of tools that you guys should have access to. So first, we have Friar Tuck here with her little stick. All right, if you don't get that reference, you might just be too young, that's okay. But you guys, let's say we're gonna go to true single leg reaches, right? Single leg balance. This can be a big jump. We did some integrated stuff in that first tip, and now we're like, all right, Joe, if I'm gonna improve balance, I do need to get to a single leg. But that alone, especially once we start phase 2 type movements, right? Those second progressions of balance, like a single leg reach, all right? So what I'm gonna have our coach here do, she's gonna hold with the right hand. She's gonna lift up her right leg. Nice and slow, she's gonna reach her leg back and out as she uses that dowel to reach out in front. And you can keep that on the ground, actually, all right? She's got such good balance, she doesn't need it. But for a lot of people who may lack, this just ends up being this very light third point of contact, all right? She can keep it on the ground, she can slide it. Either way, integrating this tool, right, from a coaching standpoint, it's gonna make this initially a little bit easier, but also now I can actually start to play with what this tool might be, all right? Let's build the strength. Maybe this is a couple week progression you integrate in, and then over time we can move to things like, let's say the TRX. This can be pretty stable. Unfortunately, people can like kind of lean too much on it. I liked what Coach Louise was doing. You could change it up as you go, but even integrating in a suspension trainer, right? Because again, the benefit of our suspension trainer is they're almost like open and closed at the same time. It is gonna be a third point of contact, but it's gonna be one that still moves a little bit. So now as Coach Louise goes through that same exact movement, I can coach and cue her to just try to use it as little as possible. And again, it is that third point of contact, but it's not a static third point of contact. So from a balance progression standpoint, cool, I'm making some progress. And again, from a client standpoint, interaction with the environment, changing the tools, that alone can make the experience a little bit more fun and not seem so monotonous versus doing the exact same move every time you come in for the next 6 weeks when it comes to balance training. And again, thankfully Coach Louise's balance is so good. Let's say she no longer needs that suspension trainer. Drop that bad boy. Well, guess what? I have some surprises. Always carry around tennis balls in my pocket, right? Maybe not, I don't know. But again, holding something. Now, this does 2 things. First off, with the same arm she's gonna reach with, and you can go with the opposite arm this time just so we don't get that one leg. Now as she picks up her left leg, this does 2 things. First off, again, it sounds silly, little distraction method. I'm doing something else that involves some other toys, and I can cue her to squeeze that hand, all right? So I get 2 for 1 benefit here as we're reaching out with that left leg, is we're creating tension, which usually helps to create tension and stability during our balance exercise, and it gives us something additional to focus on. Other things we can do while we're doing this type of exercise is play with where she's looking. Initially, maybe it's looking at something that's not moving on the ground. Generally a pretty great strategy because vision has so much to do with balance. But over time, let's look in the mirror a little bit. Don't look into the light, but look into the mirror. Mirror's gonna be a little bit harder, right? All of a sudden progression from there. Now just look at me, into my eyes. And maybe I'm moving around a little bit. You can see the balance starts to get a little bit harder. So there's these fun ways that we can not only progress and challenge, finally I got her, but we can also make it a little bit more engaging without making it a circus act because once again, we did not change what she was standing on. I think most clients have a really long way to go before we start changing those surface progressions. So rather than learning to juggle on a Bosu ball to keep your clients engaged, utilize these 2 pro tips to have a little bit more fun with your balance training so you can improve your clients' balance in the gym.